Hey guys, it's
Cam,
Katie
and
Sophie.
Sophie.
You're going to be hearing her throughout the video. She's hanging out with us right here tonight. You'll hear her cooing.
So today we wanted to do something a little bit different, and we decided to start doing a bit of a Cam and Katie story time.
Because we have a lot of stories.
Caitlin and I don't know what it is, but just in our lives individually before we were together, and as well since we've been married and stuff, we've just had some crazy things happen to us. And every now and then something will spark a memory, or we'll talk about these things and we're like, Sophie agrees. Something will spark a memory. We're just like, man, I just can't believe such crazy things happen to us. So we decided to start documenting some of them and doing little story times out of it.
So if you're new to our channel, I'm American and Cameron is Irish. So we're currently living in Spain. And last year we decided we would fly to America to spend Christmas with my family. And on the way there, we stopped in Germany and everything went wrong. So that's kind of what we wanted to share, our crazy experiences in Germany of 2020.
So like Caitlin said, we had a layover in Germany, and literally from the moment we touched down, it was just like a domino effect of things going wrong. So it was in the height of the pandemic, right? And travel was really restricted. So we were really blessed and lucky to be able to travel at the time, especially to be able to go and visit family at Christmas time. So we were really excited, but we were not anticipating what was going to happen in Germany and what would transpire that night.
Yeah, unfortunately we had, what was it, a 14-hour layover?
Something like that, yeah. So basically what happened was we landed in Germany that night, and our next flight to America wasn't until the next morning. So we had an overnight stay. Caitlin and I had agreed that we wouldn't book a hotel or anything. We'd just, we'd get through it in the airport. We were thinking they'd probably have like a lounge area or somewhere we could rest. So we land, and first thing we have to go get our bags, and we're like, okay, that's a bit weird. Like, we thought our bags would just go through on the flight. So we go get our bags, and then we're like, okay, let's get rid of our bags. Let's try check them in. We go to the desk to check them in, and they're like, no, you can't check them in. Your flight's not till tomorrow morning. So we're like, are you kidding me? So we're literally outside the airport where like everyone gets dropped off, where the taxis are and stuff, with our suitcases. And we're like, well, how do we get back into the airport? They're like, you can't. Until you check in your suitcases, you can't go back in. We're like, oh my goodness. So we literally, we're preparing ourselves to stay overnight on the outside of the airport where like the main doors are. So right away we were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening to us. So we're like, okay, let's try figure out. They said to us there was a storage area for luggage. We're like, let's just try to dump off our bags and maybe we'll go out, get something to eat to kill a few hours and then come back to the airport. So we go drop off our bags. It's around 9:30 p.m. and the guy says to us at the storage place, okay, well, you can drop off your bags, that's fine. This is how much it'll cost, but it's pay by date.
The guy said, make sure you pick these up before midnight, even though you're paying for a full day.
Yeah.
Because anytime after midnight, you have to pay for a whole nother day. So we were like, okay, we don't want to pay because it's like 35 euros or something.
Yeah, it was like 30 or 40 euro. And we had literally, we're dropping them off at like 9. He's like, yeah, be back before 12. And we're like, why? And then he says that. So with that, we're like, okay, let's just get out of here. Let's just, go do something to distract ourselves. We're already off to a bad start. And we're really stressed about the night that we have ahead of us. So we decide we're going to go into Frankfurt because that's where our layover was. We'll go in, get the metro or train or whatever, and we'll get something to eat, kill a few hours, and then come back. So we go down to the metro station in the airport. And while we're in the metro station, we're trying to figure out, pretty much everything's in German. So we're trying to figure out what line do we need to get on, where do we need to get off, and things like that. And this man approaches us, right? Really friendly man, kind of an older guy, maybe in his 50s. And so he comes up to us, he's like, hey, do you guys need help? And we're like, oh yeah, we're just here on a layover, we're just going into Frankfurt. He's like, oh yeah, I see guys like you all the time. I'm always at this stop and I see tourists like you all the time. So he's chatting to us, getting to know us, asking us where we're from, where we're going, really friendly guy. And so he's like, let me help you buy your ticket. So he types in everything on the little screen because it's all in German. He's like, yeah, you're going to want this one, you're going to want to get off here. And we're like, okay, great, that's great, thanks so much. And then he's like, but listen to me, make sure you get off at this one. You're going to think that you want to get off at Frankfurt Central, but don't, get off at this one. And he was really insistent on it. So we were like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks so much. And he's like, yeah, this is the best stop. So the metro comes, we go to get on. As we're going to get on, I say to him, oh, what's your name? I didn't get to thank you. And he said his name, but he was real hesitant to tell me his name, which we'd already told him.
You could tell he's giving us a fake name.
Yeah, he was a bit So then our red flags started to go up. So I'm like, okay, why is he being a bit weird at me now that I've asked his name? And then he doesn't get on the metro. So we're like, why didn't he get on the metro? There was only the one metro he could have got on. And so we're like, okay, that's a bit sketch. And then so we get in and sit down, and we're kind of both looking at each other like, what? That was a bit weird. And as we sit down, this guy comes in from another car, and he didn't get on at our platform, but he came in from another car and like sat right in front of us, like on the next seat.
And bear in mind, there's unlimited seats.
Yeah,
there's
like the train was
only
empty.
us on there,
Yeah.
and he chose to sit right next to us.
It's like
so.
10 p.m. and he sits right across from us. So my wheels start turning, right? You know, being European, living in big cities, I know that like there's a lot of crime and different things like that happen. I'm starting to enter into Liam Neeson Taken mode at this point, where I'm like, all these things are going on in my head. And so anyway, I kind of lean over to Caitlin and I'm like, look, I don't want to scare you, but there's a chance that guy kind of like tagged us, like he found like someone who's vulnerable, like a tourist. And he's now like told someone like, oh, they're vulnerable, like you could, you know, for potential mugging or robbing us or something like that. Because obviously when you're traveling as a tourist, typically you tend to have a lot of money with you for your plans. You tend to have all your cameras and phones and everything. So tourists are kind of vulnerable in that sense. So I said to Caitlin, look, I don't know if this guy is with that guy, what's going on, but we need to be really careful. And as you can imagine, our hearts were like racing. So I was like, Caitlin, like, I don't want you to be scared, but inevitably we were both pretty scared. So we made this plan that we would get off at the stop he told us not to get off at. The stop before the one
we were originally going.
Yeah, the one we originally thought, it was like Frankfurt Central. So we're like,
Yeah.
that must be the one. And he was like, no, don't get off there. Get off at the next one. Because I said to Caitlin, either this guy in front of us now is with him and like we need to watch out, or he's calling someone at that station to say, look out for these tourists, you know? Our wheels were spinning, you know? We just thought this was just a weird situation. And as you can imagine, when you're in that situation, you start thinking of all the worst case scenarios. So we go to get off at Frankfurt Central. But as we're about to get off, I'm like, well, hang on a minute. If this guy in front of us is someone we need to worry about, we should probably not like let him like get off right behind us and follow us. So I said to Caitlin, let's wait to see if he gets off. If he gets off, we'll wait a second and then we'll get off behind him. And if he's not getting off, let's wait a second so he doesn't know we're getting off, and then we'll jump off like kind of last minute. So we have this like crazy plan, like we're like trying to get the timing right. So anyway, with that, we get to Frankfurt Central and the guy in front of us stands up to get off. And I'm like, okay, I think we'll be okay. And we both kind of had a sigh of relief. So we get off a few seconds later before the doors close, and the guy's like a few people in front of us. As we're walking though, he like stops dead in the middle of the platform and just starts watching people going by him. And we were like a little bit behind them. So I was like, is he like waiting to see if we walk past? Like, again, just all these red flags, all these like just nerves are just, you know. So I said to Caitlin, let's kind of step back over here. So we kind of hide behind this like pillar thing. And I was like, let's just see like if he walks off or whatever. So after everyone passes him, he finally starts to walk away. So we're seriously thinking like he was waiting to see who walks by or kind of thing. And we're just really nervous at this point. We're in the middle of a city that we don't know. We're completely on our own, you know, we don't speak German or anything. So all these things are on our mind. So then we walk up the stairs, and when we get up the top of the stairs onto the next level in the metro station, he's again just standing there like watching people go by. And I was like, I just feel so nervous about this. And poor Caitlin, like her heart was beating out of your chest. Anyway, so we kind of like stand off to the side again, waiting to see what this guy's up to. And again, he kind of just walks off. So we're like, okay, I think we're just overthinking this. Right as we're thinking this, some guy comes up behind us and in German starts like shouting something to us. Like we
thought this was the hit guy.
Yeah, we thought that was it. We're done. Our time's over. Anyway, so we literally like jump out of our skin. He comes up behind us and he's saying something in German, and I don't know any German, so I was like, "No sprechen Sie" or whatever. Like, I don't speak. And he's like, "Oh, English? Do you speak English?" And he's kind of like almost confrontational. So I just resorted to, "No hablo inglés, solo hablo español." I don't know why I did that. And he was like, "Oh no, I don't speak Spanish." He's like, "Do you have any money?" And I was like, okay, well, hopefully he's just like a beggar type person. And I was like, no. And anyway, so with that, he kind of goes off and starts to pester some other people. So I was like, okay, like he's not trying to mug it. He's not part of this like plan, you know.
But we're still on our guard. So we're trying to change up what we look like and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had like a jacket on, so I tied up my hair, put on my hood, I switched out my face mask so there's no hair color they could identify.
Yeah.
Everything about me changed.
Yeah,
so they're like,
oh,
that's not the girl we're looking for.
I was wearing like a Superman mask, and obviously that stands out a lot because everyone's just wearing like medical masks. So I was like, quickly give me a medical mask in case they say look for the guy with the Superman mask. We're just so worried that we had been like picked out as tourists, you know.
Yeah.
So we go up, and as we're changing what we look like, we go up into the big metro station, and it's a huge metro station. It's one of those like 2-in-1 train and metro stations, so it's huge.
Yeah.
And that's where we start to kind of change how we look and stuff. And it's like really late at night now. It's like 10 p.m. It's freezing cold. Because bear in mind, this time last year, so like end of November.
And Cameron didn't bring a jacket. It was in his luggage that was at the airport.
I was like, oh, I'll be fine, boss.
It wasn't even a hoodie. It was like a long sleeve top. Yeah. And I was so stressed because it was ice cold. I had a coat on and I was freezing. So I can't imagine how you felt.
So anyway, we're in the middle of this like metro center, and there's just like a lot of homeless people. It's really dark, it's not well lit. So we're just like, where are we? Like, we literally are in like the worst case scenario. So eventually we start to make our way to Frankfurt, the city center itself, and I'm just following like Google Maps and stuff like while we're walking.
And we're in dark alleyways.
We're walking down the dodgiest, I don't know what, like Google Maps must have said like, here's the shortest way to walk. We were walking down alleyways with no lighting. We were like just like the sketchiest.
Oh my goodness. So we're thinking if they're following us, no one's here around to...
Yeah, like someone could pop out at any minute and like we'd be like, there's no witnesses, no one to save us. Like, exactly. So all these things are going through our head. So again, like my Liam Neeson is starting to take over. I'm like ready to pounce if I need to.
Oh yeah, and he was. So we walked for probably 35 minutes in the dark, freezing cold, and we finally found the main shopping center where a lot of people were at. We
finally found civilization.
And I was really excited because being American, they had a Chipotle there. So I'm excited for 2 reasons. Chipotle and we get to eat. Okay, a lot of reasons. I'm excited because it's Chipotle. We're safe. We're going to be warm. And we finally can relax because we've been walking for so long. So we get to Chipotle, we're ordering, and I was like, why is everyone taking this to go? I was like, why is that guy leaving? Like, why wouldn't he eat here? It's freezing. Lo and behold, we didn't realize all the chairs are stacked on top of the tables, and because of COVID, no one's allowed to eat in the restaurant. So I said, Cameron, you're joking. Like, now we have to eat outside. But all the places outside are blocked off to sit down and to eat there.
So we go, right, and we're trying to find somewhere to sit so we can just quickly eat our food. It's getting cold at this point.
We need to make it back to our luggage so we don't have to pay for the second day.
Yeah, we're like, our time's cutting short here. So we find these like benches that are kind of around like trees. And so we're like, okay, like let's just sit here real quick. Like we might get told to move on, but let's just try to eat our food real quick. So we sit down, and after about 2 minutes, we've only just started to eat our food. All these people gather around us and start smoking. We sat in the smoking area.
And that was the only available
It was the only place we could sit.
So anyway, I'm just ticked off at this point. I just want to throw away my food because everything's going wrong. Like, I'm terrified to even go back to the airport because we have no place to sleep or anything.
So we tried to eat our food in this smoking area, being surrounded by all these smokers. And like, we don't smoke, so like, it was just awful. And so we tried to quickly eat our food. It's gotten cold pretty much at this point.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And so anyway, so we just eat our food. We're like, let's just go back. I was like, do you want to like walk? I was trying to be positive.
Should we go shopping?
I was like, do you want to walk around? Like some of the shops are still open. Do you want to like get warm? And Kate was like, let's just go back to the airport. So we walked into the station that's in this area near all these shops and shopping centre and stuff. And we realised when we walked to it, that we see the name of the station. It's the one where the guy told us to get off at. So we got off at Frankfurt Central. He told us not to, and we were in the middle of nowhere, had to walk ages. And then the one right next to the shopping centre is the one he said, oh, get off of this
Which
one.
we would have been safe.
I turned to Caitlin and I was like, what if this was just all in our heads?
What if this guy's just lonely?
What if this guy was just a nice guy who was trying to help us and we're like going into taken mode?
Yeah, so we wasted a lot of time worrying about that. So to this day, we don't know if he's crazy.
Literally, to this day, it's like one of those things where like when we die, we'll look back and be like, were we right to be skeptical or were we just dead wrong?
It would be one of our first questions.
Yeah, literally.
But anyway, so we head back to the airport. We grab our luggage and we go sit down. And we know we have so many hours, like 10 plus hours to be sitting in the middle of the night. And
we're sitting at like a closed cafe, like on the outside of the airport. We're not far from the doors, and so literally whenever every now and then like a taxi driver or someone would walk in and out, like the cold wind that would come in.
Oh, it was freezing in there.
It was awful.
And nothing against homeless people, but they were camping out right next to us.
Yeah, there's people with like full on trolleys just full of like all their stuff, like just like next to us.
It was just us and a bunch of homeless people, and we had no idea how the night was gonna go,
Yeah.
and we were drifting off. We were so tired, and we were like, we can't fall asleep.
It was just the craziest night, literally. So like we took shifts. I was like, okay, you go sleep for a while, I can stay awake. And I was like just watching stuff. Then Caitlin would wake up, we'd kind of do a little walk around.
He wasn't just watching stuff.
I started the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and he finished about halfway.
Yeah, I watched tons of episodes. Anyway, so finally then around 6 a.m. security shows up and says to all the homeless people like, okay, you need to get out of here. So we had a bit more space to ourselves. We felt a little bit more secure, but still we had to sit on these uncomfortable cafe seats. And so finally then around maybe 8 or 9 a.m. we see people coming to the desks where we need to check in our bags, and finally we're able to check in our bags.
Well, that moment we finally get to check in was just a glorious moment until the woman says, you don't have an ESTA to be traveling. I don't see your visa to be traveling. And Cameron's like, I updated it before we left. I promise you it's updated. And she's like, I don't have any proof of this here. And she's going through his passport. And then to make matters worse, she's like, I don't even know if with these COVID restrictions you're allowed to be traveling. And we're like, we promise we're allowed to be traveling. We promise. Like, I'm American and we're married, so we know the rules of America.
Yeah,
we know we can.
We're like, look, we've looked up everything. We've looked
we're
up
prepared.
the American government, what they say about travel during this time, the Spanish, everything. We've looked up everything. We're like, look, we're good to go. And at this point, like, we were so tired. We were so drained. Our feet were killing us. We just wanted to like just drop off our bags, go to the where we get on our flight and just chill. And anyway, she was quite helpful and she was trying to do her best, but she was having to call all these people. She went off and left us standing there for like half an hour.
People behind us are getting frustrated because
people
their
are giving
flight.
out. Yeah.
So anyway, it was just kind of the cherry on top of a terrible experience for us.
You thought it was going to end when we said it was morning time? No, that wasn't the end.
But we ended up getting to my parents' home safely, and that's all that matters. And then later in that trip, we found out I was pregnant. So during this whole experience, this little girl who's making those coo noises was in my belly, which is crazy to think about.
So
she experienced it with us.
Yeah, she really did. She had cold Chipotle for the first time.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so anyway, that's our crazy layover story. We've heard so many people talk about crazy layover stories, so if you have one, try share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed our first little kind of Cam and Katie story time.
And many
more to come. So
anyway, we hope you're enjoying this Christmas season. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in our next video. Thanks for watching.
Bye.